What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to Let's Build the USS Voyager Season 1, Episode 42. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got about a 20-minute episode. We're going to be shifting gears from working on our nacelles, the engines, and today we are going to focus on starting our impulse engines. So without further ado, let's kick back, relax, and we're just going to jump right into this. Now, I have been talking about this to prepare you guys as far as what I'm going to be doing, but my impulse engines are going to vary from how the impulse engines actually look on Voyager. And the reason for that is more or less that it comes down to that I try to build them going at an angle, how they're supposed to look, but what I started to notice, at least for me anyway, and as I was building them out, is that they weren't looking right going at an angle. So as a spoiler, what we're ultimately going to end up doing is making the impulse engines going flat across as opposed to going at an angle. Now, with that being said, again, if you guys don't like what I'm doing here and you want them to go at an angle, make them going at an angle, you know? Do what works for you. I just think for me, at this point, I did not like them going at an angle. When I did them going straight, they fit just so much better for me anyway. And that's kind of like, it goes into what I say with Minecraft, that sometimes when you transition something over from a 3D object to working with pixel art more or less, sometimes you have to make some adjustments to make it work to where it looks better. And that might mean doing a slight variation from the source material. So that's ultimately why I'm going to be making the change that I'm going to be making today. But with that being said, I don't think it looks too bad, and to be honest with you, that was the one area that I was actually kind of surprised with, because I was almost certain that somebody was going to say something and be like, well, this doesn't fit within canon, what are you doing? But no, in fact, I had the opposite. I had a few people comment saying that they really liked how the impulse engines turned out when they saw the tour episode. So that made me feel pretty good. I think maybe more people might be on that same page with me, that building out the impulse engines in Minecraft with the design that they're supposed to be, they just look better going straight across and going at an angle. Now, look, if you're able to make them go at an angle and you think it looks really good and you want to share it with the community, look, what you need to do is go on my Discord and go under community builds. You can go under there and you can drop your photos right now so the community can see what you're working on. I love seeing variations of my tutorials. I love seeing people's original builds. So definitely go on there and post that stuff, because we would all love to see them. But yeah, you know, really, from this point going forward, we're really going to be focusing quite a bit on detailing the ship. I think you guys will start to see less and less of making physical alterations to the shape of the ship and going more into just detailing her, because we've got quite a bit of detailing to do here. We still have some adjustments that we need to make to the shape of the ship. We're not done just yet. We have to adjust the girth of the lower hull, but most of the work is behind us on that. I'll show you guys what I mean in a future episode. And then we've got to finish off the bridge shelf, add the bridge, and then we have to rework the top section of the saucer. But after we do that, oh, and then we have to build in the bottom of the saucer too. I don't think we've done that at this stage in the game. But once we complete that, I mean, yeah, we're pretty much just going to be on detailing. So we're slowly but surely getting there. I'm not still 100% sure how many episodes Voyager is going to end up being. I am certain it's not going to come anywhere close to what the Enterprise D was. I kind of figure at this point it's probably going to fall somewhere in between what the Cerritos was and what the Disco Era Enterprise tutorial was. So it's probably going to end up anywhere between 50 and 80 episodes. We'll have to see what happens. But I'm not going to stop it short. We're just going to continue this thing on until we've completed it. That is one of the things I do like about my channel. It takes a little bit longer for us to get through this stuff, but at the end of the day, you guys are getting that content, you know, the step-by-step process on how to build these things out. So we've got our wireframe in place more or less for our impulse engines. Now we're going to start messing around here and adding in detailing. Now what I can say right for this point, everything that we're doing right here on this back end, we're going to make some changes to it. Because I think originally, like, I had this idea where I was going to try to make the impulse engines more flush in the pylons themselves, and like I wasn't really feeling how that was looking. It wasn't looking close enough to within canon for me anyway that it needed to, because we can take some liberties to it, but you don't want to vary away from it to the point where it doesn't even look like it at all. And one of the things right now, the problem that we have with the build, specifically with these impulse engines, is that the impulse engines, they come back further than the pylons. So we've got to stretch them back out just a little bit more so that they're coming back clearly out, and having them in flush with the pylons, it's not matching up. So that's the problem right now. So we got to bring them back. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of minutes. We're going to be adjusting what we have here. In just a moment or two, I'm about to realize that what I have is just not working out. I think after we do these half slabs, I think we're going to try doing hatch doors on top, and then we'll stretch it out after that. But again, you know, this trial and error process, this is why I'm showing it to you guys right now. Trying this stuff out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. I'm telling you, this is the meat and potatoes of getting into doing these builds. You have to be willing to try out new things. Have to. Because nobody is going to build these things out perfect the first go around. I don't care who they are. There's always going to be that trial and error period. If you are legitimately building these ships out from scratch and not using some type of computer program. Not knocking anybody that does it. I'm just saying. Because at the end of the day, like, that's the main difference here, is that we're not using a computer program to build this out. We are building this out from the ground up, block by block, from hand, with no template. And that in itself is not easy to do, especially when you don't even have a team of people helping you do this, and you are literally just doing this by yourself. It can be a lot of work. But at the same time, I truly enjoy this. This is a lot of fun for me. Just having these little projects here and there to focus my attention on, it just can't recommend it enough. I'm at the point where I'm getting tired of myself promoting building stuff on Minecraft just because of how much I enjoy it. So, like I said, if you don't build and you just watch, like I'm telling you, try it, because it's very, very therapeutic. Highly, highly recommend it. But yeah, what we got going on here, like the shape of it, as far as the width goes, is fine. It's just the back end here, we've got to bring that out so where it's crossing the threshold of the outline for the back end of the pylon, and then we're going to have to straighten it out instead of it going at an angle. Yeah, so here's where we're going to add the trap door and after that is when we're going to stretch it out. And I was right, so we do have to also close in the lower hull of the saucer. I completely forgot about that, but don't worry, we will get into that. And like, I think what's happening right here is like I'm realizing that what I'm doing isn't working. So now what I did, because I want to kind of rewind here so I can pause on that, because we kind of just shoot over it because I'm about to build it out. But sometimes what I will do, rather than spinning my tires continuously, so like if I'm in a situation like this where I made a couple of attempts, it didn't come out the way that I wanted it to, so what I'll do at that point is I will stop recording, and then off camera I will troubleshoot. And that's basically what this is right here. This is the culmination of that troubleshooting process, going over all the issues that I just discussed and what it needed to be, which was bringing it out and having it go straight across. So we've got our template in place that I built using blue concrete blocks. I'm about to go to the left side right now and show you guys how to build it. Somebody might ask, well, Zero, if you're just going to end up using it, why did you do it in blue concrete blocks? The reason I did that is because anytime, well, there's two reasons that I'll use blue concrete blocks, or I call them builder lines, is that when you're measuring something, or well, just in general, you're putting a block down that you're not planning on keeping. It's there either for measurement purposes or to test something out. So we use a different color to make it stand out, so this way if we decide that we don't like it and we want to delete it, it's not going to impede on our build at all, and it will save you the time from having to go back and pull up your previous save file. Now that's an option too. A way to get around this is just making a save right before you make the change, and if you don't like it, you can delete that recent save with the change that you made, and then you just revert back to the previous save that you made before you started making changes. That's how you'd handle that. Now the reason that I'm doing this side in blue also is because I haven't committed just yet that this is going to be the template. Now what I can say is that this is the template that we're going to use. So you can go ahead and opt in for switching the blue blocks I'm using right now for white quartz. If you are using blue blocks, don't worry about it. I'm going to be switching things over to the white quartz here in a second, and you can do that with me. But all things considered, I think that this template works pretty good. It's looking good. I didn't show any of the examples that I had with the engines going at an angle. I did do that off camera. That was the direct result of this template that we're making right now. Because prior to this, I more or less had the same exact design that we had right now. It was just going back at an angle, and it didn't look right to me. It stood out, and it was just kind of sticking out like a sore thumb, and it just didn't work at all. And that's why I just kind of opted in for going just straight across. And then when I looked down, I was like, oh wow, you know what, that doesn't look half bad. You know what, I'm just going to run with it. But yeah, always be willing to try out new things. I promise you. You'd be surprised what you will come across when you're just willing to experiment a little bit. You'd be very, very surprised. All right. So now we've gotten to the point where I've committed to this. I've committed to this outline, so now we're going to be swapping over all the blue and replacing that with gray concrete. Or excuse me, not the gray concrete, the white concrete. It just looks gray. Okay. And at this point, we're just literally converting it over and closing in the gap. Fairly simple and straightforward. Now what you are going to notice is that this template is going to be one wider. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring that up. It's going to be one wider on each side. So I'm going to follow our pattern here, and we're just filling it in. And I think just to give a little bit more depth, instead of doing that just straight across, we're going to go one back, every other one with the red, just to make it pop out a little bit more. That doesn't look too bad. Now we're not done with the impulse engines yet, and I don't even think that we'll finish them by the end of today's episode, but we'll be fairly close to completing them. If I'm not mistaken, I think we're only going to do one more pass on the impulse engines. It could be two. Don't hold it against me. It's been a minute since I worked on this area of the ship, but if I'm not mistaken, it's either one or two more passes on the impulse engines and then we're done. At this point, it's just going to be minor stuff. The overall shape of it isn't going to change. There's going to be some minor details here and there that we're going to make some adjustments to. But I'm actually really happy with how the impulse engines are turning out. Even though we're making a slight variation within canon how the impulse engines should look, I think all things considered, the way that they are fits perfectly for Minecraft. They don't look out of place at all to me. They're looking really good, and I'm just loving that back shot view of them. That's money right there. I'm loving how that's looking. So we're going to add in just a little bit of detailing on the engines here. I don't know if we have the engines going far back enough. We might have to add one more layer to them. What I'm adding right now, because I noticed this on Voyager, that she has like this double ring or double line on the top and bottom side of the engines, and it kind of wraps around the back end, but it doesn't go along the sides. So that's just what I'm adding right now. Just really comes down to looking at your reference material and thinking like, okay, what details from the reference material can I bring over? So we're literally just analyzing the picture or 3D model to see what we can pull from it. That's all I'm doing right here. So I say, like, a lot of the times it looks like I'm following a template, I'm following a model. I'm really not. I'm just looking at the reference material and I'm coming up with a game plan. And it's using that combination of just planning out your build. It's so vital to what you're doing. Stop and plan out what you're going to do ahead of time. Come up with that game plan. If you're not sure, experiment, just like we did with the impulse engines. They didn't come out the first time the way that we wanted to, but we didn't give up. We kept working on it, making changes, slight adjustments here, slight adjustments there, until it fell where we wanted it to fall on. So I say, when you're building out your ships for the first time, don't be afraid to experiment and troubleshoot, because this is going to help you land where you need to land. And if you are having problems with that, sometimes it's just best, like I said, to take a break from it and come back to it again with a fresh set of eyes. But really just having that openness that if you can see that there is a problem, the best thing to do to fix that problem is first identifying, okay, what works about what I have, what doesn't work about what I have, and what do I need to do to fix it. These are things that I think about anytime I make any type of adjustment to my build or I'm building something out for the first time. But always got to have that first step to go off of, you know, going back to that rule. You got to have something down to figure out what you're going to do with it, or to see what your next step's going to be. You got to have just that point of reference to go off of. It's going to be super, super helpful in figuring out what your next steps will ultimately end up being. So literally all we're doing right now is we're just cleaning up what we got, filling in the gaps, getting rid of the access, getting rid of these half slabs here. We're just doing straight across, or excuse me, flush going straight across the whole top. And like I said, we're not done with the impulse engines, but we're pretty close. We're pretty close to where they're ultimately going to end up being. And the reason I want to go into this, that I use the white concrete instead of the quartz, is for the same reason that I did the white concrete on either side of the bracket, because I want the impulse engines to pop. I want these lines to stick out as we zoom out. This is why I say detailing just these minor details is going to help to make your ship pop. But you also don't want to go overboard with it. You don't want to have that line work going everywhere. Sometimes less is more, but you want to have those certain areas to kind of pop out a little bit more, you know what I mean? But I think, all things considered, I mean, that's looking like Voyager to me. I'm pretty happy with where we're going with this. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for me today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you're one of those people that you comment on my channel, I get this all the time where people are like, man, like, how do you not have more subscribers? The main reason that I see is that I don't see enough people coming back rewatching some of my videos. They're not liking my videos, and they're not commenting, and they're not subscribing on the channel. So if you're one of those people and you want to help me out, just doing one of those things will be so beneficial, because it helps me get more views and more exposure to this channel. So if you can just take a moment, like, subscribe, and comment, I'm forever in your debt regarding that. But if you have any questions regarding today's episode, drop a comment below. Definitely love hearing from everybody, even if it's just to say hey, or you have a question, or if there's any builds that you want to see. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for me today. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? I want to see your pictures. Post them in the community build section on Discord.